I really wanted to give parents some resources in looking at how do we make this manageable and maintain the fun? Because when things don't feel manageable and we're overwhelmed, we're not at our best, and our kids pick up on that, and then that seems to be when they go for the jugular. And so they're pushing our buttons, and we're feeling triggered, and we're not showing up the way we want to. So that was really what was behind developing this Summer by Design toolkit.
Welcome to Real Talk with the Parenting Blueprint Coaches, where we discuss all aspects of parenting using the foundation of understanding personality dynamics to raise independent, responsible, and resilient children. My name is Karen Wagner, founder of Teaching Our Youth and the Parenting Blueprint. Let's dig right in with today's topic and have some real talk with the Parenting Blueprint Coaches. So school has ended, the kids are finally home, and I don't know about you, but I think I was more excited for summer break than my kids were. But it didn't take long before everything started going sideways, where they were fighting each other or they were up my butt, okay? So how are you making out with summer break, and how do you structure activities to keep your kids busy? I am here today with the amazing Mindy Green, who has put together a wonderful resource for you on Summer by Design. So we're going to talk a little bit about how do we keep our kids somewhat busy with some level of structure, but also allowing them that downtime to recover from school and get ready for the next school year. So Mindy, I'm so glad to have you join me today. You created an incredible resource, and I was reading over it, and the value that you are bringing families to try and, as you say, give some space, that they need, but also to engage them, but engaging them according to their personalities. So share with us a little bit more about how you came about putting together this resource and what families can learn by getting a hold of it.
Well, I think you said it so well that, maybe are looking forward to summer break with our kids, having some extra time, going on vacation or doing some special activities if we can't get away. And then it's just 2 weeks into it. And then we're suddenly, we're developing a twitch or, or we're rolling our eyes ourselves because the days can feel really long. There is more daylight. So maybe bedtimes have changed, or we're not, getting up at the same time because the kids are going to bed later, or we are on vacation and things are happening. And so I really wanted to give parents some resources in looking at how do we make this manageable and maintain the fun? Because when things don't feel manageable and we're overwhelmed, we're not at our best, and our kids pick up on that, and then that seems to be when they go for the jugular, and so they're pushing our buttons, and we're feeling triggered, and we're not showing up the way we want to. So that was really what was behind developing this Summer by Design toolkit.
Yes, and I love that, and as I said, I was probably more excited that school was over because I didn't have to have all that rush of getting everybody out and all the after school activities and all those things, that I was able to decompress. But I also knew that it wasn't long before things were going sideways. And now I was looking for ways to organize time, so my kids still had some downtime, but we also built in some activities. So you went even a little deeper into this as to how to engage different personalities, because based on the personalities of your kids, some kids really like to stay active and engaged, where other kids really do need that down time or more reserved and not as many activities. So give us some examples of the things that you were sharing about how to manage that. Because look, as a high energy mom, I was like, go, go, go. And my kids were just burning out. We were going to the library, we go to the park, and we go to the water park, and we go to geology center. But then I realized I can't do something every day. Maybe once a week we had a field trip that we were out, and other than that, maybe some structured activities at home. But I had to read them, and I wasn't doing it in the beginning. I was just wanting to do stuff all the time. And that wasn't effective for all my kids.
Yes, well, I mean, that's such a great example. And I would say for my kids, when they were growing up, when I was raising them, that I had lots of different personalities too. I have 4 kids, and each one of them looked, so different from the other. And so one of the things that we did then, and we didn't screen time wasn't as much of an issue. I mean, watching TV was, but now with grandsons who are over here frequently, it's like we're trying to find things that keep them active and involved, but I also know that they need a lot of downtime too. And so it's just having some resources available, recognizing what really drives your kids. Are they wanting to be on the go? Are they wanting to do things? Do they want to have people over? Or do they want to go places? First, having that awareness. And then, or if you have kids who really want to just spend time with you, or they just want to, curl up with a book, it's looking at those things, the cues that we're getting from our kids about what is most meaningful to them. And so in the ideas that I put into the workbook, we're just looking at the different personalities and some ideas that would be of value to them. So for those high D kids, those dominant kids who are, they're wanting to do things and be on the go. Their accelerators mashed to the floor, and they're like jumping into summer, like wanting to do everything. So, and we know that that's not always realistic too, because we have working parents who aren't able to be at home all day and give them this. So, for these kids, if you're a working parent, you might be looking at some summer camps with things that will have, and you may not be able to do a specialized summer camp, but looking at what it is that they're doing in that summer camp. And, even if maybe the summer camp is not, like go, go, go all the time, recognizing that you can do some things afterwards too. Like I put in here, create a backyard challenge or a scavenger hunt, things that will get them, their little creativity going, build an obstacle course, give them set some challenges or goals for them, have them set them because they like to be in charge, right? So, and give them opportunities to do new things independently or on their own so that they feel that sense of accomplishment. And that, and I know, Karen, you're a high D personality, so I don't know if any of those speak to you, or maybe if any of your kids are high D, but I know for my daughter, my oldest, these things were things that she really enjoyed doing.
Yes, the summer camps were wonderful, and they can be expensive for families. I had to find some things locally, like our community did when my children were younger at the park. They were able to meet at the park. They had counselors. They did games. They went to the pool. Like they would have some day trips that they would do with them. They also got lunch, so it was a wonderful opportunity that our community offered, which was 2 blocks away. As they got older, we did try to find more specific camps that would expand on their interest, things that they like to do. Okay. So Eric was always a sports camp. Anna was a dance camp. And so it may have been 1 or 2 weeks out of the summer that they did that. And as they got older, they were go away, stay on a college campus type things, which was building their independence and their maturity to be on their own. And it was also developing some of their talent that they came back stronger than when they left, when they got back into school and back into their activities. So it is wonderful to have those opportunities to enrich them. I always say we have a few summers through high school that we can really nurture what their interests are, which can help our kids find what they may want to study later. And I think sometimes if we're not structuring that, they can still be unsure about what they want to do. It's easier to know what they didn't want to do than what they did want to do. And once they got involved and saw it, it's something they wanted to learn more or not. And it was just a good week, those types of things. And the activities are really because they're driven to accomplish things. And I'm telling you,
Yes.
if you don't challenge them, they're going to become your challenge. I'm telling you, they will become your challenge. They will be, I am bored. I don't want to do this. We're not all the complaining about, and then they complain about freaking everything. You know what I mean? It's like as soon as it goes sideways, it's like hard to get it back, right?
Yes, because then that creates that spiral. And
Oh
so
yeah.
what I want to say too, and this is something that's really good for all of the kids, regardless of personality, is looking into the local library at different programs that they have over the summer, and for summer reading programs, a lot of times they're looking for volunteers, and this is for the older kids, but
Mhm.
it's really can be from middle school on up because they have different time frames. So that's even something as a working parent, like that the kids can do maybe in the evenings, after you get off work, or you could have, if, you're a two-parent family, that one parent might get off a little early and can drop them off at the library to do those things. So those are some free opportunities. And Karen, like you said too, like sometimes like the community-based programs. So, I guess all of this to say is don't think that you have to do it all by
Right.
yourself and that, or that it even has to be elaborate and it has to cost a lot of money
Right.
because, for our high I kids, those inspiring types, I have one of those, he was just happy, like being able to have friends over and, they would play games, wander around outside and just really enjoy those types of things. And then, I also have a child and she's now my librarian. She is, was always happy with a book, just give her quiet space. And that's really what she wanted to do, regardless of the time of year. And then for those C's, the cautious types, we had Sudoku, we had all kinds of things that they can really put their attention to detail into. And also, I had one of my children who would always draw comics. And that was something that he would do because he really loved doing that type of thing. So, these are just some ideas, and these are screen-free ideas because I know that it's real easy and it can be very tempting, especially as they start to argue with one another or, and you're trying to separate them, that they get on a screen, whether it's their iPad or tablet or, watching YouTube shorts, which drive me up the wall right now. But whatever it is, that there are things that can keep them active and away from screens that really allows them to tap into who they are and what they enjoy.
Right. Exploring their interests. So it really is opportunities to do that. You talk a little bit, Mindy, in the guide about ways that the kids can contribute to the things that they would want to do. And, rather than feeling as though we need to structure everything, I always like to have that family meeting about, number one, we talk about what curfews are going to be changing differently and who's got what going on. And so we communicate and collaborate, with the kids. But having a whiteboard or something I think you had mentioned about what are the things that they would like to do this summer and then finding ways that we can weave them in so that at least they have a say. So when they have a say in it, and then we can find ways to accommodate that, it gives them that voice and feel as though that at some point if we want to go to the big water park like a Six Flags or something, how can we build that in one weekend that we can all do this as a family. And sometimes staycations are good. I've learned to just be a tourist in my own town, that there were things that were going on that I just didn't take advantage of because I felt like I needed to go far away or overnight or get a hotel and all those things, when there were a lot of really fun things right in my own community that I just hadn't tapped into.
Absolutely. That's another great point too, that depending on where you are, you could look at a couple of different things and as if your kids are a little bit older too, from really like late elementary to all the way up to high school, have them do some research on some places that they might like to go and do that would be within an hour or whatever your maximum amount for like a day trip and to be able to really spend time wherever it is that they want to go. So, maybe 2 hours away from home or an hour away from home so that it's not so stressful for everyone, but come up with some ideas. And you're right that I think that we get more buy-in when we ask our kids their opinions, like what is it that you want to do? What's important to you this summer?
Right.
And if they say I don't know, because that can be a real
Oh yeah,
a real answer a lot of
a
times.
lot
It's
of
like,
times you're right.
yeah, so you're just like, well, this is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And then that a lot of times can spark those conversations. Or also look at timing, if your child is tired, if they're, you know, having a hard time transitioning from like the school year to the summer, because that's another possibility. They go from being so overscheduled to maybe not as much going on, and they might be wondering themselves like, how can I do this? That's where having these conversations can come in really handy, because then you're asking them, well, what is it that you'd like to do? Look within an hour away from home. Where are some places that we can go, and give them a budget. We have $50 we can spend, or $100, one weekend or 1 week out of the month, or whatever it is. And then write it all down, let them see it. It can be on a whiteboard, it can be in the family group chat, if you they have cell phones or whatever it is, but allow them to see it and to contribute to it, because then they can take ownership of that and also feel a sense of accomplishment, like, hey, I'm contributing to the family this summer.
Yes, I love that. Another thing that I've been hearing a lot is that our kids don't know how to be bored.
Yes.
That they have been so overscheduled or overstimulated because of digital devices that when we take everything away, they really don't know what to do. And so it is helpful to give some guidance that we just have a day where we're not going to do anything, figure out something to do. And then they end up shooting hoops in the driveway, or they call their friend and put together a baseball game at the field. Like it's an opportunity if we set those boundaries for them to be able to do other things that does get them out of the house. Eric was like the social director. I kid you not, of the neighborhood, because he would ride around on his bike and find out who was home. Because you know, at once upon a time, people did that, right? We would actually knock on the doors. This is before they all had their cell phones, and just see who was around, and let's meet in an hour down at the school, and a pickup game. So he was real good about the socialization, and it was always around sports, or they were at our house, because we had the hoop in the driveway, and I just made sure that I had plenty of drinks and hot dogs to throw on the grill. You know what I mean? And that was fine, because then they had each other, something to do. They come in, cool off, they go back out and play, and it was just really, I just loved. Maybe it's just me, but I just loved having one in my house. Other parents may not feel the same, but I just loved it. Another thing I want to touch base on is using these summer months, because I always felt like they were milestones, right? So a year ends, and then we're entering into another year, and I was always conscious of, am I teaching my kids what they're going to need to do when they leave me? And so the life skills were something that I felt were opportunities during that downtime to teach our kids, even how to strip their bed, do their sheets, and make their bed, right? I mean, these are simple things. So based on the age of your child, teaching them some simple life skills that you are now passing the baton on, because I hear so many moms that, and I fell into this trap as well. We did everything. I did everything, because when they're little, I did. And then I started to
Yes.
get resentful while I'm running around and they're just laying on the sofa, either watching a movie or playing on their device, right? We had Game Boys back in the day, so that's where we were, because my kids are in their 30s now. But I would just get a little resentful. But I was not building in those responsibilities when they were younger, and realized, especially when the kids were older. So the younger kids, I was already starting to build in emptying the wastebasket or emptying the dishwasher, and just doing things and teaching them time management, chores that needed to be done, age appropriate things, but then also some things that they might need to do, like planning a menu and what ingredients they need for that menu, and doing the laundry was something. We had multiple kids in the house, so you couldn't just like start a load and leave
Yes.
it there for 3 days, like because someone else needs the washer, like those types of things, to be able to teach them car maintenance, you know what I mean, and budgeting, when they get a part-time job, and teaching them how to. My kids just didn't write anything down. Like there was no check register. That was like a joke. They just opened their phones and they thought they had money. And back in the day, if everything didn't clear right away, by the end of the weekend, they were
Mhm.
overdrawn. So I mean, there were some life lessons that. So these are some wonderful things as parents to think about. Age appropriate. What is it that I have this downtime that I can begin to teach my kids now? Because once the school year starts, it gets a lot busier. So
That's a really
what are
good
some of your
point,
ideas
Karen.
on that?
Yeah, well, and I have an area. I have in the workbook you'll see, or the toolkit you'll see, there's a summer agreements worksheet, and so part of that is and I say that it's better to set expectations for your kids, and it's with our kids and not just for them. And so this is where these conversations come into play. Like how can they contribute to the household?
Yep.
And so it's like it's a contribution that they're giving, but it's also, like you said, it's skill building. So this is even from kids who are very young, being able to pick up their toys and put them away at night, or when they take after they're done playing, they don't have to take everything up, while they're in the midst of playing, and I was always okay if they took out multiple things and then put them all away later. But, look at your child's abilities too. And if you think that, being able to put everything away at one time is something that they can do, or if they should do it as they go along, whatever it is. But, and you're right, being able to do laundry is really important. And, I know that now we have, you can kind of throw everything in together, but, my kids used to have to separate their own laundry and figure that out and bring it down to the laundry room for me. And, those are things that are helpful. And also cooking
Yeah.
can be so much fun for the kids, no matter what age they are. We when my kids were little, and I do this with my grandsons now, and I have families who do this, they'll ask, well, what the kids' favorite meal is. And so then they'll say, okay, so if we want to have this, you have two kids and they want different things. Okay, so we have 2 nights or 2 days that we're going to have, this meal, these two meals planned out, and take them to the grocery store. And I know, and I can hear some parents groaning right now, thinking, that they want to just go and get things. So if it's too much to take, and you're too tired to have them come with you to the grocery store, they can help you make the grocery list, though.
Yes.
And figure out like what it is that's needed for this meal, and then they can help you to prepare it.
Yep.
Kids, they have the knives that aren't real sharp but that can still cut. They can help you to make the salad or cut up fruit or whatever it is. So there are things that they can help you to do, which should take a load off of you, but then it's also teaching them that skill.
So true, so true. My daughter-in-laws do a lot of grocery delivery, which is something like they say to me,
Oh,
"How
yeah.
did you do this with 3 kids?" And I'm like, "I didn't have a choice. I mean, I didn't have a choice. I mean, I try not to take all three at the same time, but they can go into Instacart or Kroger or whatever it is and order things. But could you sit down and say, we're going to be making X. These are the ingredients we need. Let's find them in." And I guess we're teaching them how to use an app like that, because and then it's delivered and then they put them away. And so even if that's your lifestyle where you're not going to the grocery store, how can you still
Yes.
include them in those things, make them a part of it? And even Dean at 18 months, and I think I was cutting up green beans, and I was cutting up the green beans and I slid them off the cutting board and he took them and put them in the pot, because they want to be where you are. They want to be where you are. The
Absolutely.
toddlers want to be what they are because they're little and all they're seeing is the low level, and they just want up, 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 up. So get the little stool and I put a little apron on them and include them, because if not, then you're just kind of just fighting or trying to take care of the fight that started in the other room with 2 kids. And so there's so many ways that we can engage. But I do remember that I needed to think it out. And I needed to be intentional about what I was doing, because it was when I didn't that things went sideways. And I had to say, but you did not structure something. And not that every minute of every day was done. We have some time, we wake up time, but then there was something we did before noon, and we have lunch, and then we'd have an afternoon something, whether it was a downtime or we were going out, but just something that we had a loose, what were you calling it? A routine, right?
A rhythm, yeah. So
A
it's like having a
rhythm. I
rhythm,
love that.
yes, a rhythm to your day. Because I
Yes.
think, if you are at home with your kids and everything is completely different, it's different for you, it's different for them. Because in school, like, they live by the bell,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know.
That's true.
Uh,
Right.
and so, now it's time to do this, now it's time to do that. And so some kids enjoy that more than others, based on their personality and preferences, but they all become accustomed to that
Yes.
because they've had to throughout the school year. So, to go from that to like not having any structure in place can be a really difficult transition. So, and some of you may be living that now and kicking yourself. So if you're in that situation where maybe you haven't had as much of a rhythm to your day, it's not too late, because we're not even halfway through the summer. So, it's still time. And just, have something, a loose rhythm, like when are they going to wake up? And sometimes, if you've done something later the night before, like maybe you've had family or you've been having people visit or you're on vacation, it doesn't have to look the same every single week, but to be effective. But it's like in general, this is what things are going to look like, and that is such a game changer, because it helps you to stay calm and also have some consistency for you and for your kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mindy, this is awesome. So, those of you who are listening, there will be a link so you can get your Summer by Design plan that Mindy has created. She's got a lot of additional pages and resources in there, not only some of the things we talked about, but other things that will really help you find your summer rhythm. I love that. I love that term, having a summer rhythm. And so that we are engaging with our kids, maybe teaching them some life skills along the way and making those memories that will last a lifetime. I think each one of us have got memories that we remember from our summer. And it wasn't all around the digital game that I played. I mean, it was like when we went out and were throwing stones in the creek, or we went to the local swimming pool with our friends. These are the things that we can be building in to make it a meaningful and fun summer summer for everyone. Okay. Mindy, I am
Yes.
so appreciative and grateful that you took this time to put this resource together. Listeners, I hope you click that link and get that, share it with your friends so they can get a hold of it too, so that we don't have to have this crazy summer where we feel like we are just always behind the eight ball trying to get back in charge of what's happening in our day, that we have got a nice loose rhythm to our summers. So thank you so much for joining us for this episode. I hope you found it helpful. Click that link, like and share, and we look forward to seeing you on another episode with Real Talk, the Parenting Blueprint Coaches. We'll see you then. Take care.